If you don't know what bullet setback is, you should probably check your carry ammo. This is what a normal round looks like. This round in particular is a Federal HST, but just pay attention to the overall length compared to this one. That is what bullet setback is. Notice how the round or the bullet is actually recessed into the casing. That's due to repeated loading and chambering into your pistol. And the reason why it happens is when you actually load your round into the chamber, the bullet smacks against the feed ramp and then loads inside the chamber, and when it hits the feed ramp, that's when the round is going or is turtlenecking back inside the casing. Not all rounds are equal. Some of them actually do recess a little bit easier, and some of them recess a lot easier, and some of them don't recess at all. And also the thing is some guns are different too. So some guns have a more aggressive feed ramp, like a 1911. Like for example, the round's gonna go wham, smash straight into there before it goes inside the chamber. And some guns like this P320 here actually has the round lining up with the chamber pretty damn good, and with making minimal contact with the feed ramp, and so you get less setback if you're using like normal ammunition, like with on a P320, than you do like a 1911. Glock's feed ramp is fairly average, so after you do it repeatedly, it's gonna just end up recessing in. But then again, it's based on ammo. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is because I was hanging out with a friend, or I was hanging out with friends, and somehow I just ended up being presented with his carry ammo, and I looked at it and I was like, holy smokes, dude, look at this. And he was like, what? And that's when I realized that we're overdue for a new video about this. I made a video about this a long time ago. There's other videos about this. There's like people myth busting it on YouTube and stuff. It's cool to watch. I'll tell you everything, so you don't have to watch it if you don't want to, but if you do, just type in bullet setback and you'll find a lot of good videos. But anyways, so the fact that my friend didn't know like what the hell was going on with his ammo, that's why I feel like I should tell you guys. So what if the round recesses into the casing? A lot of things can happen, actually. Most, all of them being bad, really. So one thing's for sure is that you will get velocity increase. The further in the case, or the further in the round is inside the casing, the more velocity you're gonna get. It's a ratio, just like that. I have heard instances to where like the round won't even fire. I heard that. On some of the myth busting YouTube videos about this, they say that the casing can swell, and a casing that swells can get stuck inside the chamber. And so let's say if it was the first round that is in your gun, right? And when you need it, round goes boom, and for example, I do have a round that, so a round goes boom, right? And then all of a sudden it's just stuck. And so it's a failure to eject, and you can't just clear it neither because it's really, dodged a bullet. It's really stuck in there. So that's one thing that can happen. Other than that, velocity increase is not necessarily good if your gun can't handle it. So essentially, what it really does is, so I watched a video where some dude was testing a 45, and his velocity went from 950 all the way to 1,180. That's basically so it went from a 45 to a 45 plus P. If you're using plus P ammo, it's going to be plus P plus. You know, not all guns are the same, and not all ammo is the same, so it's just not something that you want to really chance. And it can go boom in multiple ways. The case could rupture right here, and all the pressure just ends up going downwards into the magazine and igniting a chain reaction, and this thing goes flying up straight to space. But there's just too many unknowns. What's certain is that you will get more power, more pressure, because that's what's happening is when the round's getting recessed into the casing, you're really smashing all that gunpowder. And if you're like me and a lot of other people, you don't want to risk something like that, especially being your first round. It just doesn't feel good knowing that like the first round in your chamber, like you don't really know what's going to happen. Like you think it's going to go off, or you think it's going to go off. Another thing that's a little off topic actually is how you load it into the gun. So you could damage ammo. Ammo's fairly fragile, and especially if it's your carry ammo, you should baby it unless you just you don't care and you can buy you buy this stuff all the time. But you could damage it by chambering it traditionally, loading the round in with the slide forward and racking it back and forward. Besides just recessing the bullet, what you're actually doing is you're adding wear onto the casing itself, because the way a round gets stripped into the chamber is that this portion right here, when you're pulling the slide back, it actually scrapes on the brass casing and then gets behind the round and pushes it onto the feed ramp into the barrel. So when you put the round in the mag, load the mag, and then slingshot, slide back and forward, you're actually damaging the brass casing and the bullet itself. Another thing you don't want to do to avoid the bullet setback and avoid damaging the brass casing is dropping the round into the chamber and just releasing the slide and letting it slam onto there. Because you're still you're not recessing the round anymore, but what you're actually doing is you're damaging the casing still. And you could be damaging your extractor, depending on what kind of gun you're using. So if you do that with a Glock, you're going to totally destroy the extractor fairly quickly. If you're using a Beretta, like a M9 or something, or a 92, it's made to do that, so you can actually do that safely and it won't damage your extractor. But on to destroying the brass, or not destroying, but ruining the brass. Here's a close-up. You can see the wear marks on the casing, like the striping that's going on from the primer end towards the opening. The lines that are just all over it, like scraping. The extractor is wearing out the rim of the casing. And what's wrong with the worn out casing, worn out rim? What actually could happen is that because the extractor hooks onto the rim of the casing, like this, basically, and when you shoot, it yanks it out. And so if the rim of the casing is all like worn out and stuff, when you shoot, it could potentially just slip right off, and now you have a round that's stuck inside the chamber. Again, it's your first round and whatnot. If you're like me, you don't want to risk any of that stuff. So that's why you shouldn't do that. Even with the Beretta, like I was talking about, where it's made to safely extract over, you could probably still be damaging your ammo. Not the extractor, but you could damage ammo, possibly. Oh, well, then if I can't do that, I can't do this, and I can't do that, then what am I supposed to do? Well, there are multiple ways that you could load your ammo into your gun without damaging it. Sadly enough, I don't want to talk about the really effective way to do it. It's really effective, but it's kind of hard. Once you master it, you still don't get it 100% of the time. You have to try like 2 times, 3 times sometimes. But I will talk about the easy way to do it. So an easy way to load the round into the gun without damaging it is simply, so with the P220 is super easy. Honestly, I shouldn't use the 320 because it's really easy. But with a Glock, for example, what you do is make sure the slide is already back, so that way you don't get that scraping on the brass. Insert the mag, and as you can see, when I push on the magazine in the motion that I would to insert it, when I push on it, you can see that the round actually lifts higher and gets more in line with the chamber. And so what I do is I use my pinky or my hands, I push on that, and in a safe direction, always, finger off the trigger, I send the slide forward slowly, and the round goes into the chamber, and I just make sure that everything is seated and is completely in battery. To do this, I give it a press check a couple times, make sure that the round slides in and out really easily, and then when I see that, it's good. Pushing up on the mag minimizes the contact with the feed ramp and puts it more in line to the chamber. Again, not all guns are the same, but for the Glock and for the P320, it works really well. But yeah, that's all I have to say really. Just seriously, take a look at your carry ammo, all of it, and a good way to visually test your ammo is to get 2 or 3, or just make sure they're all the same and you're not comparing different brands with like a hollow point and a jacket hollow point. So make sure you get 2 of the same or multiples of the same and put them on a flat table and take a look. If you like what you learned today, like, subscribe, and comment please. Comment if you learned something, or comment if you do have any experiences where it did blow up or whatever. Or comment if you thought that this is totally useless and you wouldn't mind the extra power from a setback.